My name is Benni Aroni. I've been asked recently by Moshe Khan and Zelman Ainsworth to say a few words to the young Jewish professionals to help get through this incredible time that we're going through. This apartment was where young Jewish professionals were first energised and where we had our first function, so it was a bit difficult for me to say no, even though I have to admit that I'm not sure that I'm particularly worthy or appropriate for this sort of talk. But anyway, let's give it a try. So these days I spend most of my life helping a major architectural firm, a major alternate bank and a property development fund manager who, for the purposes of this video, I won't name, but they're all places where I work and I get a chance to see what's happening in the industry. So I am going to give you a fairly big risk, since no one knows what's going to happen, my view of where the property industry and a little bit of the finance industry is going to end up at the end of this COVID-19 dilemma. And there will be an end, I can assure everyone. I just don't know what's going to be the middle and the short-term developments. But before I do that, I just want to talk a little bit about culture. So I have the privilege of working for three pretty exceptional companies which have always had a pretty exceptional culture. And at times like this, you really get to see how crisis is managed and how people show themselves at their best and their worst. Those groups that have a poor culture have a poor culture at good times and bad times. The three entities I work with all have exceptional cultures, and there's been quite a similarity between how they've reacted and how hopefully each of your businesses have reacted. So firstly, they have thought of their staff and their people. So safety, such as remote working, sanitising, hygiene has been top of mind. They've worried very much about laying people off, standing down provisions, redundancy provisions, etc. And so far, all three have managed to maintain all their staff at full pay. They will eventually move to annual leave and to leave, and if it goes long enough, there will be stand-downs, but they will be stand-downs rather than terminations, with the full aim of bringing them all back at the end. Their second line of culture has been there. Some have clients, some have investors, some have just customers. But what they have done is made sure that they've communicated clearly and transparently with each of those groups. Where they have been able to provide remote servicing, they have. Where they haven't, they've been honest and transparent. And that's all the client can ask. They've also been very, very focused on cash flow. They've been very honest about asking for debtors to be paid and paying creditors themselves, because they understood that their subbies and the groups they worked with had their own dilemmas. This communication culture has meant that everyone has understood in all those businesses where they stand and that they are aligned in their interest. And that alignment of interest is what will get them through this and which will bring them out at the other end. Now, property. I can't tell you how difficult this is, but we're already seeing major changes. Residential auctions and inspections are gone. The residential apartment market was already in a major funk for so many reasons. I'd need 5 videos to do it, but none of this will help. Fascinatingly, places like China, Singapore and Hong Kong, which are on the other side of COVID-19, or at least we hope they are, have suddenly taken an interest in our apartment market. The Australian dollar collapse has been very relevant to them, and just in general, they understand security and the Australian attraction. We're not talking about large volumes, but it is interesting. Investor groups and our normal channels in Australia are absolutely dormant, and decision making is almost impossible. So nobody with any sense would be launching apartment projects at the moment. but they are quietly trying to do pre-sales through those channels overseas, and there is some life and pulse in that market. The residential housing market, which was incredibly strong, has just basically seen a complete change overnight by not having auctions and inspections. And we can expect that that will stay for the time that COVID-19 finishes. I can't see that when it comes back, unless we have massive unemployment and a mass depression, that will really take a long time to come back. Whether it gets back to where we were, which was really bubbling, or whether it takes a little while to get back to there, time will tell. The industrial market is a little bit protected from everything because of online and logistics. It's strong and it will stay strong. Again, the only thing that can change this is a major depression where we have a bunch of unemployed, and that will happen, but the recovery there, it's just too early to speculate on. And I am still fairly optimistic that with the lockdowns and so forth that the governments are doing, and I must say that in Victoria I'm very impressed with what Daniel Andrews is doing, and even on the federal level it seems like we are being fairly responsible. Living in town, I can tell you that it is deadly around here, which is a good thing. It means that people are obeying the stay-at-home principles and the hygiene principles. With a bit of luck, we won't go through Italy and Spain and unfortunately America, where leadership is completely bankrupt. So I do have some optimism about all that.
Okay.
The one that could see some serious disruption and is really interesting is offices. We were in a place where offices were selling at cap rates of 3 to 4%, and they were the hot property. People started buildings, particularly in areas like Richmond and Collingwood, and I am focused in Victoria at the moment, speculative office space in the belief that they will build and the tenants will come. I didn't actually think they were taking giant risks in doing that, because certainly those areas were our Silicon Valley, but it just goes to show how risk management is not an art form. My sincere belief is that companies have spent so much money on creating remote access that previous experiments where people have worked from home or had flexible working arrangements were completely different. We had crappy internet, we had crappy technology, and we all sort of believed that working together and community working together was the way to go. I actually think this is working so well, and I am seeing it in all three businesses, that there could be quite a structural change. Places like WeWork and Hub will also be reassessed. Community is everything, and we do like working in groups, but I'm just wondering if there is going to be quite a significant change in how many people will work from home, and whether there will be quite a variation in values put to office space when we come back. Certainly, we are about to hear a whole lot of concessions from government as to what you can do to a tenant during this time while offices are staying dormant, and it's still not clear whether those payments of rental are going to be temporarily frozen, whether there will be a deferral. Some landlords will ask for extra option periods or for extra terms. There's going to be a whole lot of different deals done. So stay tuned. The office space will very, very much change, but how dramatically and in what direction, time will tell. Finally, the real wild card, retail. Clearly, we've seen heroes like Solly Lew just simply say, I'm not going to pay rent. Well, other heroes like John Gandel are not going to put up with that. The question again is going to be government intervention and government support. But again, like in every area, this should be done by collaboration. Perhaps a percentage rent, perhaps some deferral, perhaps some sort of concessions. Hopefully the government will come to the party with land tax, they already have with payroll tax and other things. But those things will make an enormous difference as well. But retail is clearly not an area you'd invest in unless you're a true vulture for quite a while. So hopefully all that gives you some insight. The most important thing is stay healthy, stay loving, stay kind to each other, because we will get through this, there's no doubt about that. And those of us that make it to the other side will have an obligation to help everyone, not only along the way, but when we come back. And I very much look forward to doing that for each of every one of you. And in the meanwhile, I wish you all safety, health, and enjoy the time that we have to cogitate and to be with our families. Thank you.